Before the Texans worry about the Jets, they've got to worry about another team. Who's D'Amico Ryans talking about? Welcome to the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. The head coach of the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans, was asked this week about Zach Wilson, who got announced as the starter for the Jets. Now, they've had a turnstile at quarterback all year long. Obviously, we know what happened with Aaron Rodgers. And Zach Wilson's back starting at quarterback for this Jets team. And D'Amico Ryans was asked about what does Wilson do well, and I thought he handled it pretty well at the podium because he could have just laughed and said nothing, which is pretty much the situation for Zach Wilson at this point. But he gave a nice answer about Zach Wilson's athleticism, how you have to pay attention to his mobility. He can get out and make some plays with his legs, create some throwing lanes for himself with his mobility. But then at the end of the comment about Zach Wilson, D'Amico Ryans had this to say, and it really got me thinking.
Overall, not really about the quarterback or who's at the quarterback, but more so this week is just all about us and us being honed in on our assignments, our fundamentals, and playing as best as we can play.
So if the Texans aren't necessarily worrying about the Jets this week, they're worrying about themselves. What do they need to worry about? What do the Texans need to worry about and pay attention to heading into this Jets game? Well, first for me is life after Tank Dell. What exactly is this team going to look like without Tank Dell? An important piece of the offense. He hurts the ability to stress the opposing team not being there. So who do you trust? Who do you lean on? Well, we know who C.J. Stroud leaned on Sunday. It was Nico Collins. Collins had a career day, 191 yards, a touchdown. He's already eclipsed his career yardage total through 11 games this season. And D'Amico Ryans was pretty complimentary and excited for his third-year wide receiver.
Yeah, first getting here, I always seen Nico, right, just as a huge target, right? Guy was very athletic, huge target, huge catch radius, and a guy who can make plays down the field, right? And just being here and being around him, just seeing, right, just his spirit. Nico has a really good spirit about him. He's a really, really good young man. I mean, his work ethic, it sticks out. It's probably second to none. Like, he has tremendous work ethic, and I've seen him just build confidence, right, over time. He's continued to show up to work every day with the right mindset, attacks it relentlessly, and his production is showing up on the field from the work that he's putting in. So Nico, I mean, another guy that I'm very, very proud of, right? Just to see him shining, he deserves it because he's put the work in.
Nico Collins has got to keep shining for this Texans team. He's the guy. He's the number one for this team. I don't know if you consider him a number one wide receiver. I certainly didn't when the season was getting going. In fact, I had much lower expectations than what Nico Collins has achieved for him this season. He's blown past pretty much anybody's expectations. He's on the cusp of 1,000 yards. And when you start thinking about next year being his last year with the Texans on this current contract, certainly great timing for Nico Collins to break out and have the best version of himself. He's a complete wide receiver. He does all the dirty work, which is something C.J. Stroud gave him a lot of accolades for. He runs all the routes. He can get open against a variety of coverages, and when you man him up, and he dominates. So Pro Football Focus put out the stat that he's one of the best wide receivers in football when opposing teams man him up. So Nico Collins is incredibly important in replacing Tank Dell. If you go back and see some of the things from Denver this past week, there were a couple of moments where Noah Brown was about to have part of that breakout game. He was going to have some of those 191 yards that Nico Collins had, but the pass rush got to C.J. Stroud a little too quick for him to get to Noah Brown. That's a guy that I'm expecting to take a bulk of the attention from Tank Dell's absence is Noah Brown. Get him the ball a couple more times. He runs some of the tough routes. He's a yak monster, just like Nico Collins, whereas he's hard to bring down. He fights for every yard. He does a lot of the dirty work, just like Nico Collins does. And I would think that the offense finds the way to get the ball in Noah Brown's hands a couple more times. And then as far as slot activities, Robert Woods, 3rd and 3, Robert Woods runs 4 yards. C.J. Stroud hits him with the ball. That's one way to fix things as well in Tank Dell's absence. And then who knows exactly what John Mechie can bring to the table and Xavier Hutchinson can bring to the table. Those are two young guys playing their first year in the NFL. Obviously, Mechie's in his second year in the NFL, but didn't play last year. And Hutchinson, he's been a guy that's been only on special teams a couple of times, even though he's been active. I don't know what to make of them. I wouldn't rely on them right away. But, hey, the nature of the wide receiver position, guys get tired. They're going to have their opportunities. They're going to need to step up. And then use the tight ends, a little Andrew Beck, maybe throw it to the backs a little bit. That's actually something that the Texans haven't done a ton, that this 49ers style offense does do quite a bit, is throw it to running backs. So last year, running backs were one of the most targeted things in the 49ers offense. That has not been the case for the Texans this year. So there's a lot of ways that you have to make up for Tank Dell. One of the other things D'Amico Ryans talked about that the Texans need to be paying attention to and worrying about is don't let the Jets be the Jets. Don't let the Jets play their style of game in this matchup. What exactly is that style and how potent is that Jets defense? Well, I'll let D'Amico Ryans explain.
Success in the pass game, it comes from them first off being sound in the back end. They'll eliminate the explosives, right? They'll make sure they're on top and not giving up any, deep passes there. And then they really let their front cut it loose, right? They do a really good job of rushing. All right, 4 guys rushing together, getting after the quarterback, and they'll roll those guys. It's going to be a relentless rush, and we have our hands full with their front 4, and that's the strength of their team.
D'Amico Ryans mentioned that front 4 for this Jets team. Well, they're quite ferocious. They have the highest hurry percentage in football with the lowest blitz percentage in football. Now, let me say that again. The Jets defense has the highest hurry percentage versus opposing quarterbacks with the lowest blitz percentage. Those 4 guys that they trust on that defensive line to get after the quarterback, get after the quarterback. And they make you roll out. They make you improvise. And that's where guys make mistakes. We've seen it time and time again in recent weeks when the Jets have hung around in games. When players have to improvise against the Jets defense, they go and make mistakes. It's happened to Patrick Mahomes. It's happened to Jalen Hurts. It's happened to Josh Allen. If it can happen to those guys, it can happen to CJ Stroud. And D'Amico Ryans talked about how the Jets kind of keep a lid on things. Well, think about Noah Brown living over the middle, Nico Collins living over the middle. There's a couple of different ways to go about beating up and neutralizing this Jets defense. It's probably the best defense the Texans have faced in a long time. In fact, I know it is the best defense they faced in a long time. It's going to be one of the best defenses they face all year long. And if the Jets can play a tight version of defense, muck this game up, ugly this game up, force a turnover here or there, that's the only way they're going to stay in this game. So, worry number 2 for this team, don't let the Jets be the Jets. Force them to be something else. The way you could force that defense to be something else is running the ball better. The Texans have had really 2 great games of running the football. Everything else has been some level of okay to good versus probably a lot of bad in there as well. So running the football will be paramount against this Jets defense. 1, the weather's going to stink potentially. 2, it helps wear down the pass rush. 3, it helps everything in the offense operate easier. So running the football is of a paramount importance for Sunday. D'Amico Ryans, again, stop me if you've heard this before, it feels like they're pretty close in part of it, but they've got to get to a deeper element of the running game, and it's kind of going to come with, I'll just let D'Amico Ryans explain.
With our rushing attack, we can't overthink it, right? We have to block it well up front, which I think our O-line is doing, and we have to run it better. Right, so all across the board, just everybody being on the details of their job. The run game, everybody wants to talk about the run game and how it's not working. We just can't overthink it, right? It's a mindset. You get up, you run the ball, you got to displace guys up front, and we have to run the proper tracks at the running back position.
Don't overthink it. Shut the mind off. Don't try to make the perfect rush if you're Dameon Pierce or you're Devin Singletary. Go in there, see what you see, hit the hole, get yards, line it up again. And I was surprised to see D'Amico Ryans again say the offensive line was doing enough from that standpoint on running the football. And if that's the case, then it's on the running backs, Andrew Beck, the tight ends, to get things squared away and finish off some of those runs. They have to run the football better than they did against the Denver Broncos if they're going to take care of business against the New York Jets. Now, look, is there a chance that CJ Stroud can just pass his way out of any sort of issues that they have with the rushing attack? Yes, but that's not an ideal way to do things. And you'd love to get up, say, 14, 17 points on the Jets if you can get that many points on the board. okay, keep the Jets off the scoreboard because they struggle on offense, and then really just grind something out with the rushing attack. Too many times have we seen a 3rd and 1 turn to the running back and not be able to get it. Next thing you know, you're punting on 4th and 1. The Texans have done that more than a handful of times this year. They got to run the football a little bit better. So those 3 worries ahead of the matchup with the Jets. Replacing Tank Dell, how do you do it? Well, Nico Collins is one of the answers. Don't let the Jets be the Jets, okay? And how do you keep maybe the Jets from being the Jets? Well, maybe you run the football a lot better than you have if you're the Houston Texans. That's certainly a way that you can go about winning this football game on Sunday and continuing your trek towards the AFC playoffs. And if you get some help, maybe the AFC South championship. But you're going to need some help there, even if Trevor Lawrence is a little dinged up and not quite 100%. You know, it's always 100%. The fantastic barbecue from my friends at J Bar M, a great place in East Downtown. Edo is what the folks call it. Check out my friends at J Bar M. You've been seeing the banners here on the video. I want to show you a little bit. Look at the fantastic stuff they've got going on at J Bar M. They've got their Tex-Mex menu each and every day, and oh my goodness, elite barbecue with fantastic Tex-Mex put together. You can't beat that. $2 wells on Fridays and Saturdays. That means going out there watching your favorite basketball, your favorite football team when the bowl games roll around. The beer garden is incredible out there. And of course, I've told you about the fantastic food that they have as well. And if you're watching this on Thursday ahead of Friday, December 8th, you don't want to miss the El Tigre Promotions weigh-ins that they have at noon on Friday, December 8th. You don't want to miss that. Get out there. It's always a fantastic time. Boxing fans, you get to see some of these guys weigh in. You get to meet a lot of them. El Tigre Promotions does a fantastic job. They partner with J Bar M on those public weigh-ins, and lunchtime is fantastic at J Bar M. You get some fantastic food, some great entertainment with the boxing weigh-ins as well. Go visit my friends at J Bar M. They will take care of you. Tell them Cody Stoots sent you when you stop on by. There's information in the description down below about J Bar M as well. On your way down to the description, throw me a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed, hit the little bell, turn on notifications so you know when new stuff pops up here on the channel. So much more coming on the channel. Getting you ready for the Jets game on Sunday. Getting you ready for the rest of the season. That is the playoff march. I appreciate you trusting me with some of your Texans talk. I sure do love talking about the Texans, and I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.